Southern California, good afternoon, and welcome to another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Today we have ourselves quite a show, as we have a lot to get into in the world of Southern California sports, such as the Chargers almost beating the Bills, but almost doesn't cut it as they lost and they are eliminated from playoff contention. But now we got set up for the real LA team in the NFL, as the Rams have a big-time matchup against the New York Football Giants. And the Lakers, unfortunately, got embarrassed against the Celtics on Christmas Day. Is it time to panic in Lakerland? And are the Clippers starting to contend? Or do we still have to wait and see? Also, how about USC football? They managed to beat Louisville with Miller Moss? It is Miller time, ladies and gentlemen. Is he the future for USC football? Also, Big West Conference kicked off yesterday, and as well as Pac-12 men's basketball play, as UCLA got a good win over Oregon State. Can't say the same for USC men's hoops, as they wound up losing to Oregon. All that and more here on the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. This is Teran Rodriguez bringing you another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. And welcome one, welcome all to another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Thank you all for joining me on this beautiful Friday afternoon, Friday morning, Friday wherever you are listening from. Either way, you have made your way into episode 161 of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. And without any further delay, let us begin. But first and foremost, the SoCal Supreme Sports Show would not be where it's at without IE Sports Radio providing the platform to go live on Spreaker. Please do follow us on, formerly known as Twitter, X, Instagram, and on TikTok. And we also have a Facebook page. All you just have to do is like us on Facebook, and then boom, that's how you're able to follow us. We also have a website, www.iesportsradio.com, for all your latest sports news, our IE Sports Radio blog, our Hall of Fame, our Fans of the Month, our page is dedicated to each podcast, our community forum, and our merchandise shop. For the last 9 years, going on 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports leagues around the country. Thank you to everyone for all of your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all of that sports. A huge shout out to our sponsor, Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, the single-A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all-brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, it's low in sugar, and high in protein. This is some of the best jerky you can get your hands on, and all you have to do is visit www.planetjerky.net and place your order. And from what I am hearing, if you go on planetjerky.net, you'll see reduced prices for a limited time only, and if you buy orders of $50 or more, you will get shipping for free. And in addition, if you tell Planet Jerky on Instagram that you heard about them hearing one of IE Sports Radio shows, such as the SoCal Supreme Sports Show, you'll be entered into a raffle where you can win two bags of Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Once again, a huge shout out to our sponsor, Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. The jerky that's on a whole other planet. And the way you can follow the SoCal Supreme Sports Show on social media is on X, at SoCal Show IESR. And you can follow me, Teran Rodriguez, on X as well. That's where I'm mainly at Teran Rodriguez 1. Without any further delay, let us begin. As Larry B is in the chat room, he says, Teran is supreme. Thanks, Larry. And Adam Karnick pops into the chat room. He says, good afternoon, Teran. Good afternoon, Adam. Appreciate y'all tuning in. Anyone else that's listening live on Spreaker, I do appreciate anyone that's tuning in. Sorry if I sound a little bit nasally. Unfortunately, I caught a cold at the worst time. I caught a cold right after Christmas. Unfortunately, I caught my brother's cold. He was feeling under the weather. Tried to get over it. He was kind of 50% when he visited, and then I caught his cold. And if I also sound a little different, I'm actually recording at my brother's apartment. So if my background sounds a little different, or if I sound a little bit softer in terms of voice, I am basically in an apartment. I'm not in my house. So just gotta throw that out there. I'm here in Dallas, Fort Worth, just as an FYI, in case you didn't hear the last episode, for about a month. But this isn't permanent, and don't worry, I will be keeping this show and set point going. The show must go on. Oh, and 3 and Out College Edition as well. Alright, but even though I'm in a different state, I'm still going to give you that delicious SoCal goodness. So without any further delay, let us begin. So we have to start off with the NFL, just because NFL is king. So I already talked about, the Rams didn't have any games as of last recording, as I recapped their game against the Saints, but the Chargers did have a game against the Buffalo Bills, and, I will say, I'm not surprised they lost, but they made it interesting, and this loss kind of shows what the Chargers look like without Brandon Staley, and I think this also shows what they could really be if they have the right coach. Gift Smith did a pretty good job in his coaching debut following Brandon Staley's dismissal, and I can't blame him. The only thing I will say is that this game for the Chargers was mainly Cameron Dicker pelting the Bills with field goals, and the Chargers just could not capitalize on the Bills' turnovers with touchdowns. All they just did was kick field goal, kick field goal, kick field goal. And field goals don't really win you games. You have to actually score touchdowns. And it's sad because Easton Stick did all that he could. He even had a good chunk of rushing yards as well. And that's what happens when you also open up the playbook. And that's what the Chargers need to do with Justin Herbert. Let him run with the ball. Maybe not every time, but just do so to the point where he gets more options instead of just throwing checkdowns or just saying, F it, Keenan Allen down there somewhere. So, Adam says, I happen to be off work today so I can tune in. Oh, that's awesome. Glad to hear it, Adam. Alright, so for the Bills, however, this was the case of they were able to get the late score and eventually put the Chargers in a sticky situation. And also, this was the case of the Chargers, even though I wouldn't say they contained Stephon Diggs to the best of their ability, they allowed Gabe Davis to go off, as Gabe Davis had 130 receiving yards, 1 touchdown. Stephon Diggs only had 29 receiving yards, which I think is pretty good. I think the Chargers did a solid job limiting him. But unfortunately for the Chargers, it wasn't enough, as the Chargers lost 24-22, and also Josh Allen had he had 2 touchdown runs. So unfortunately for the Chargers, the loss does eliminate them from playoff contention, which, even if the Chargers had won, they still would have needed to have a lot go their way. It's sad because, again, this is another year where the Chargers just squandered another year of talent, especially with Justin Herbert, and now they have to go coach searching again, and they have to find the best head coach, whether it's Jim Harbaugh, whether it's Ben Johnson, whether it's Bill Belichick, whether it's anybody. The Chargers have to hit a home run with with their new head coach, and also their new GM. If not, then they're going to be stuck in this wheel of mediocrity, and this could be the whole Philip Rivers thing, and Justin Herbert could be Philip Rivers or Dan Fouts 2.0, and I don't want that to happen to Justin Herbert, because if anyone could really break the Chargers' drought of a Super Bowl, it's got to be Justin Herbert. Otherwise, the Chargers may never, ever, 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 ever get another chance at winning a Super Bowl, or let alone making it again. So the Chargers' next game is against the Denver Broncos this Sunday. They're playing at Mile High Stadium, and that has been the house of horrors for the Chargers. And here's the thing for the Chargers. It's kind of in their best interest to just... I know tanking is a sin, but for the Chargers' case of they really need to, get a better draft pick, like maybe get a Brock Bowers, because no offense to Gerald Everett, but I think Brock Bowers is kind of more ideal as a tight end. Like, if they want to get a Brock Bowers, or heaven forbid, Marvin Harrison Jr., even though I don't think he'll drop that low, or anything of that sort, the Chargers would be best to lose out the rest of their games. And also, it's just going to be so tough for the Chargers to win at Denver. Now, here's the thing for Denver. I have no idea why they're doing this, but they're benching Russell Wilson, and they're starting Jarrett Stidham. Did I say that right? Is it Jarrett Stidham or Jared Stidham? Either way, it's Jarrett Stidham is starting for the Broncos at quarterback, which... Okay. All right. Anyway, so, yeah, the Chargers are facing Jarrett Stidham, and bully for them. They don't have to see Russ cook. But that doesn't mean that the Chargers are going to get a free pass in terms of the win. So they have to roll with Easton Stick. Now, Easton Stick in his first start looked solid, but he's got to let the ball rip. He's got to find his targets. And I get it. He doesn't have the top receivers like Mike Williams. Keenan Allen is going to be questionable. Joshua Palmer might be questionable. And all that sort of thing. So... But the problem is, and they actually have... Okay, so Keenan Allen is actually out, as well as Joshua Palmer. So, oh, great. Well, those two are out. And remember, Mike Williams got hurt in Week 3, so... Oh, I also forgot to mention, Joey Bosa's out as well. They just released this 5 minutes ago, so that's interesting. Doubtful is Kenneth Murray Jr., Tanner Muse, and Nick Williams. Questionable is Nick Vannett, Zion Johnson, and Dean Leonard. So, that is tough. And Jen B. pops in the chat room. Thanks for tuning in, Jen. I appreciate that. So, look, the Chargers will not have their starting wide receiver 1, their starting wide receiver 2, their starting wide receiver 3, their starting quarterback, one of their defensive backs. So, I just don't know how the Chargers can win. I really think that they can win, and based on how they played the Bills last week, and the Broncos straight up I wouldn't say they laid a goose egg, but they wound up choking in the last minute, or the last minute or so. I think the Chargers can definitely win, but all of the odds are stacked against the Chargers. Like, who is Easton Stick going to throw the ball to? He's going to have to throw it to, like, Jalen Guyton, or he's going to have to throw checkdowns, or he's just going to have to checkdowns to Austin Eckler and whatnot. So, this is going to be one ugly game, especially... I mean, at least the Broncos still have Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy, and I think they get Greg Dulcich back. But honestly, this is going to be so tough for the Chargers to win, and they're going to probably lose in ugly fashion. But I think that it's going to be an ugly game. And thankfully I'm in Dallas, so I won't have to Dallas Fort Worth, which I won't have to deal with the possibility of watching locally. I'll have to deal with either watching the Texans or the Cowboys, depending on what CBS wants to give me. But I got the Chargers losing this one 13-10. I think it's going to be that type of game. I think it's going to remind me of last year's Monday Night Football game between the Chargers and the Broncos. And I think the Broncos are going to keep what little playoff hope they have alive. And I still can't believe to this day that... Well, not to this day. I can't believe last week the Broncos wound up whiffing a golden opportunity to improve their playoff chances against the Patriots last week. But unfortunately, they gave up a late field goal, and that was pretty much that. So, oh, good golly almighty. Good golly Miss Molly. So, again, if the Chargers had more of their stars, I maybe would have picked the Chargers to win 13-10, but I just feel this is a game set up for the Chargers to lose. So I got the Chargers losing. Next week, the Chargers close out the remainder of their season at home against Kansas City, and it's kind of interesting what kind of Kansas City team they'll get, considering the Chiefs have had their struggles, and they may rest their starters just for like getting right and whatnot, or they may just play them for one half or one quarter. But regardless, the Chargers aren't going anywhere, and this is just for pride and for glory, and basically for next season. So that's pretty much that for the Chargers right there. Jumping over to the Rams. All right, the Rams are a whole different story. So this weekend, or this Sunday, the Rams hit the road to the Big Apple to take on the New York Football Giants. Now, the Giants, they're eliminated from playoff contention, but that does not mean they're going to give the Rams a free win. Oh, no. The Rams are basically going to do everything, are going to have to do everything they can to try to beat the Giants. And here's the thing. Ever since Daniel Jones went down, it's been a bit of a merry-go-round in terms of quarterbacks, as there was Teran Taylor, the former Chargers backup quarterback, and then eventually he got his start, only to get it snatched by Justin Herbert. And then you've also got Tommy DeVito, everyone's favorite Italian quarterback, and unfortunately he got sent to the bench. So now it's back to being Teran Taylor running the show. Here's my thing for the Chargers, or for the Rams. They gotta get the job done. And here's the way they can make the playoffs. If they win and the Seahawks lose to Pittsburgh, the Rams are in. That's all they just need. They gotta hope that Pittsburgh beats the Seahawks, the Seattle Seahawks, and then they gotta take care of business against the Giants. I guess another scenario would be if the Packers and Vikings tie, which, if that happens, I think we will all be in stitches. Well, at least Rams fans will be. But for the Rams, they play the Giants, and this feels like a game the Rams can definitely win, but they have to take care of business. They have to have Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp just going off. They have to basically have Kyren Williams get going in the run game. They have to keep Matthew Stafford clean in terms of the O-line stepping up. They have to get to Teran Taylor. And look, I understand the Giants are a likable team, and they are well coached by Brian Daboll, but the Rams just can't underestimate the Giants. The Rams have to take care of business, because a win gets them so close to the playoffs, but a loss just makes it oh so tough for them, because next week they close out the season on the road against the San Francisco 49ers. And also the Seahawks play the Arizona Cardinals, which that's probably going to be a cakewalk for them, most likely. But for the Rams, I have the Rams winning against the Giants. This is going to be a tough one. The Rams have been known for basically keeping teams in the game, opposing teams in the game. Normally the Rams jump out to a big chunk of a lead, and then basically they allow the other team to come back saying, oh, we just jumped out to a head start, let's let you come back. That's what they can't do. They have to just jump out to the lead, protect it, and just don't look back. I know they have a young defense, I get it, but it's still inexcusable. You have to, when you have a team down on the ground, you have to step on the freaking throat. If you don't, then it's just going to make it tougher. And again, the Rams have the youngest defense. I totally understand, minus Aaron Donald and Leonard Floyd. But that does not mean anything. It still means that we're at this stage of the season where the Rams have got to stop learning and they have to start actually executing. Because now it would be a lot different if the Rams didn't have their veterans like Floyd and Aaron Donald. But honestly, it is what it is. So I got the Rams winning. What's a good score for? I mean, the Rams put up 38 against the Saints, which I thought was pretty good. Was it 38? I feel. Yeah. Oh, they put up 30. I'm sorry. I'm thinking of another team, but the Giants aren't really known for scoring that much, even though they put 25 on the Eagles and they put 24 on the Packers. You know what? Give me the Giants, or give me the Rams to win 31-17. I think that sounds about right. And Mike Pat says Rams need to take care of business. And he says, by the way, rooting for Kaleb Williams to be a commander. That's funny. But back to the Rams. Yeah, the Rams need to take care of business, and then they could focus on the Seahawks and what's happening with them against Pittsburgh. And then they could also maybe focus on the Vikings and the Packers. If I were a Rams fan, I would totally be rooting for the Vikings to win, just because the Packers have the Bears. And Adam, no offense to the Bears, but considering the Packers have kind of owned the Bears in years past, I kind of wouldn't put my money on the Packers. But unfortunately, I would see the Packers win, just because the Packers, obviously, they still have their starting quarterback, unlike the Vikings, which sadly is going back to Jalen Hall after they went from who was it? Nick Mullins? Yeah, it was Nick Mullins, and then they previously went to Josh Dobbs. So, yeah, I'd kind of have to. If I were a bet man, I'd pick the Packers to win. But if I were a Rams fan, I'd want the Vikings to win. But if I were a true Rams fan, I'd hope for a tie. But regardless, the Rams just have to take care of business themselves. But I was quite impressed with how the Rams performed against the Saints, minus the fact that the Saints kind of came back and made it interesting. It's just that the Rams, again, inexperience is not on their side in terms of defense. So we'll see how it goes. But I'm confident in the Rams this weekend. I think they could pull it out. Puka Nacua is just having a fantastic season. He has 4 NFC Offensive Rookie of the Weeks, and I think he leads everyone in that category. So don't be surprised if he is the NFC Offensive Rookie of the Year, and he deserves it, dude. Like, I know he's had his ups and downs, but this past week was his biggest output. And Teran Williams has definitely been an asset in terms of the run game. I think this could be, as long as the Rams keep him healthy, basically the Rams have their guy for the future in terms of running backs. And yes, Puka Nacua was a steal, and Mike and Adam are arguing about draft capital, so that's quite amazing right there. Excuse me a second. But yeah, the Rams are the prime example of the draft is there to help you. And even though the Rams didn't have a first-round pick, they were able to basically build off the draft and get their receivers and get their running back. And soon they're eventually going to get their offensive linemen and their defensive players of the future once, they get their sea legs and whatnot. Sorry, this cold is really kicking my butt, but I have to keep it rolling. Anyway, but yeah, Rams are winning this week, and I can't wait to see what the Rams have to offer. Even though I'm in the Dallas area, I'm hoping I get to see the Rams, just because the Cowboys play on Saturday, and we don't know what local television will bring us. Though I think it'll probably be Titans-Texans, just because that's going to be played on Fox. Thanks, Fox. Way to screw us. Anyway, but that's going to do it for the NFL portion of the show. Going to the college football portion of the show. So, USC was basically the last Southern California football team to basically play or to have a bowl game. So, my thing for the Trojans was I basically picked them. I don't know why, I don't know how, but I picked them. I was like, you know what? Let's pick USC to win. Even though they didn't have Kaleb Williams, they didn't have a majority of their starters, but under Miller Moss, a guy who had never gotten a start, USC managed to pull out the win over number 15 Louisville. It was actually the first meeting between Louisville and USC, as USC wound up winning 42-28, which was dang right good. I was very impressed with the USC. Although they couldn't stop the run and they had no run game of their own, Miller Moss just was outstanding. He had 6 passing touchdowns, which I think was I want to say it was tied for the most in a starting quarterback, in the debut of a USC quarterback, and I know the 6 touchdowns were a Holiday Bowl record, or at least it tied it. But Miller Moss also threw for... Sorry, one more time. But, sorry about that. But Miller Moss also threw for 372 yards. He was 23 for 33. He did have 1 interception, but that wasn't all on him. It was just Miller Moss tried to go low, tried to find Makai Lemon, and then the defender made a great read, picking the ball off down low, and that almost was returned for a pick 6. Thankfully, I think Makai Lemon did manage to stop him. And Makai Lemon, I've seen him play in high school. I think he can be something special for USC. They just actually got to get him on the field, and he could be a two-way player as well. So, but as for USC overall, outside of being unable to stop the run game, I didn't really see too many faults with USC. I mean, yes, they didn't have a run game of their own, but I will say USC was just rather impressive. They looked shaky to begin with, but the defense actually looked good. They forced a fumble on the 3rd drive from Louisville, on Louisville's, I think, 3rd drive. Yes, oh no, it was their 2nd drive. It was their 2nd drive because USC got the ball first. They had to go 3 and out. Louisville got the ball next. Touchdown. USC went all the way down the field, only to kick a field goal and miss. And then Louisville, on their first play of their 2nd drive, fumbled, and then it was eventually recovered by USC. And then we got to see Miller Moss hit Taj Washington for a touchdown. Speaking of which, Taj Washington had 2 touchdown catches for 99 receiving yards, which I thought was pretty good. So Taj Washington was actually supposed to go into the transfer portal, but he chose against it. He said, nah, I got one more in me. He had the whole Vince Carter MO. I got one more in me. So at the end of the day, USC was able to pull out the win over Louisville, and I'm glad they were able to win. It looked like there was a pro-USC crowd just because A, it was in Southern California, Petco Park, mind you, in San Diego, and then B, I just think USC had a bunch of their young players just basically saying, you know what, this is our time to shine. This is basically rehearsal for next year. Let's give them a show. And Miller Moss really put on a show. I was just downright impressed. So the fact that, and I also got to give it up for Miller Moss, the fact that he had been sitting behind Kaleb Williams for the past 2 seasons, it's just incredible if you ask me. Yeah, he says, the past 2 seasons, because he's in his sophomore year. I'm surprised he didn't take a redshirt year. But for Miller Moss, man, that's just incredible to just basically come in garbage time, only for now to have this time to basically get your first start in a Holiday Bowl, to live out your dream. And Miller Moss had a dream to basically be the starting quarterback for USC and play for USC, which I thought was awesome. So great job to Miller Moss, and that is a Holiday Bowl record, 6 touchdown passes in his first start, which I thought was amazing. And Lincoln Riley, at the end of the game, he got a tub of eggnog poured on his head, which I thought was pretty good if you ask me. So not bad. And there was someone else that got MVP honor. So in addition to that, Miller Moss also was named the offensive MVP of the Holiday Bowl, which was awesome. And I kind of forgot the defensive MVP of the Holiday Bowl, but I will also just say is that it was his teammate from high school, so that's pretty good if you ask me. So I wish I knew what his name was, and I just loved some of the reactions that we got. And I was basically just impressed by Miller Moss overall. But I will try to find his teammate, his Alemany teammate, that basically Jalen Smith. Jalen Smith was the defensive MVP. So Jalen Smith was the defensive MVP of the Holiday Bowl. Miller Moss was the offensive MVP, and they've been best friends since they played football at Alemany, which is basically in a high school, private school in Southern California. It's up in like Woodland Hills in the Los Angeles area, which I think is pretty cool. So honestly, congratulations to USC, and a huge Big W award. Gotta give it to Miller Moss. I haven't given out a whole lot of these, but Miller Moss definitely deserves a Big W award just because it's your first start and you throw 6 touchdowns against the number 15 team in the nation. And this kind of also shows that Louisville, if you all listen to 3 and Out College Edition, I picked USC to win. And I'm not trying to say, oh, well, I told y'all, but I just felt Louisville, there was just something in my mind that just said, Louisville is not going to bring their all. I mean, yes, they had a good run game, but Jake Plummer doesn't bring a whole lot to the table. Florida State, they only put up 6 against Florida State. They lost to Kentucky, which is in a battle against Clemson. Oh, Clemson's about to beat them. Oh, God. Never mind. But they also lost to Pitt, which is having a dreadful season, which will not see them going bowling. So there was something in my mind that was telling me, I think you should go with USC. And it wasn't me being a homer. It was just me saying, I think USC is going to bring it. They have nothing left to lose. And you know what? It's been a tragedy of a season this year. But honestly, they just ended it on a high note. And for Miller Moss to have that performance, it was just awesome. So there you have it. That is basically USC in a nutshell. And that's basically it for college football. There's no more college football to cover as UCLA has completed its season. They won the LA Bowl. Or UCLA completed their season. USC completed their season. San Diego State is unfortunately done with their season. Rolls eyes. All the FCS teams are done with their season in terms of SoCal. But yeah, that's going to do it, and I'm going to miss talking college football. But it's on to college basketball. I'm going to talk about this for a little bit as Pac-12 play opened up yesterday as USC disappointingly lost to Oregon on the road, 82-74. Now, I understand Oregon is one of those sneaky good opponents, but USC just did not have a whole lot of heart with this one. Pardon me. Sorry about that. Once again, the cold is kicking my butt. But USC, they just showed no heart in the first half. They were down by as many as 17. They trailed 42-25 at halftime. So I was just so disappointed in USC's performance. And when you're playing on the road, you really got to show up. And they're down by as many as 18, not 17. But still, trailing by 17 at halftime is not ideal. Simply not ideal. And the sad thing is that Oregon only had 8 threes, which USC also had 8 threes. But USC also bricked 5 free throws. Ooh, gosh. They equaled Oregon in rebounds, but that's kind of where the buck stops. And the field goal percentages were kind of even as well. So the fact that USC lost this game kind of shows that you have to be a little concerned for them. Because Oregon is not world beaters. They are not world beaters. Because they've proven that they can be beaten by teams like Syracuse and Alabama and Santa Clara. So the fact that USC was lost in their Pac-12 opener kind of really concerns me. So as for UCLA, they managed to win in their Pac-12 opener against Oregon State 69-62. Yes, 69. Nice. So UCLA, this was the exact opposite of what USC was put in. They were actually down at halftime, trailed by 4, but still, they managed to turn the tide. And the scary thing is that UCLA did not have one player crack more than 13 points, as Adam Bona led the way with 13 points, while Dexter Akano led Oregon State with 22 points, which, okay, not bad. So all in all for UCLA, it's a good win, because UCLA has had some pretty rough goes. Ever since that loss to Northridge, they lost another home game, which was to Maryland. So, I mean, Maryland's not bad. They're in the Big Ten, but still, you're going to be playing Maryland next year. So get used to that, UCLA. Well, you might be playing UCLA, or you might be playing Maryland, depending on what Big Ten you're in. You could be put in the Big Ten East, or you could be put in the Big Ten. Oh no, it's all one Big Ten. But either way, before I continue, the Big Ten kind of has its remedies of certain games that are conference games and some that aren't conference games. But I digress on that. So UCLA is back at it Saturday against Oregon, while USC has Oregon State. So that's kind of that for that little matchup right there. Big West Conference play also has kicked off, and for some, it was some good and there was some bad. UC Santa Barbara did lose to UC Davis 76-72, or 76-62, which obviously was not fun. But it is what it is, as Northridge beat Cal Poly last night 83-73. Long Beach State had a pretty good win over Cal State Fullerton on the road, winning 81-71. I thought that was good just because they rallied back. They were trailing most of the game, and then in the second half they kind of took charge. Also, UC Irvine beat UC Riverside 73-66. And then UC San Diego, which I don't think is eligible for any tournaments, beat Bakersfield 76-64. So that's kind of your little roundup of the Big West Conference. As It's Drewski pops in the chat room, he says, "What is good, Teran? Hope your DFW stay has been well. Have a great show." Thanks, Drewski. Yes. So hopefully I will run into Drewski during my stay in the DFW. Hopefully, when I'm 100%, I will be able to basically cruise and hopefully find It's Drewski by fate and whatnot. I should be over this cold sooner rather than later. So, in terms of the next matchups for the Big West Conference, Cal State Northridge and Long Beach State both play against one another on Saturday. That's going to be a fun matchup. Jumping over to the WAC, California Baptist, or CBU, they beat Chicago State 74-64 as they play at New Mexico State this Saturday. So that's some good right there. That's some good. And then jumping over to some college women's basketball, we got USC and UCLA facing off against one another tomorrow, which, oh man, I'm so ready. You know what would have been better? Not seeing USC and UCLA facing off against one another on the Pac-12 network. Seriously, you got the number 2 and number 6 team in the nation facing off against one another on the Pac-12 network, but not on ESPN. What the heck? They're not even on ESPN Plus. This is complete hogwash, if you ask me. Anyway, as for San Diego State's women's basketball team, they kick off conference play tomorrow at home against Colorado State, which I think is going to be a good matchup. 2 9-win teams. I'm not even going to talk about the West Coast Conference just because that's its own type of ugly, unfortunately. But back to USC, UCLA. Oh, I'm looking forward to this one. Both of these teams are undefeated. USC is 10-0. They should be getting their star players back, such as Juju Watkins. And I forget her first name, but it's something... Rhea Marshall, who is their top rebounder. So getting Rhea Marshall, their top rebounder, and Juju Watkins is big time right there. And then UCLA, it's going to be a barn burner for UCLA, that's going to be a barn burner for them. They're coming off of 2 wins as well. Both of these teams are undefeated. They're combined 21-0, so something's got to give here. Again, I really wish this game wasn't on the Pac-12 network, because who in Jupiter's Jingle Shoot has the Pac-12 network? Hardly anybody. Come on. All right, that is going to do it for college hoops right there. I don't want to go too much into it just because, again, my voice is a little strained, still battling that cold. But we're going to take ourselves a quick little commercial break. When we come back, we got a little bit of NHL to go over. Then we got to award the Dum Dum of the Week, the Dum Dum of the Year, and basically reflect on 2023. So keep it locked here. You are listening to the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. We'll be right back after this.
Well, what is up, Carolina Nation? This is John Felipe of the Carolina Cast, of course, the podcast of, by, and for the Carolinas, right here on IE Sports, your direct feed for all that is sports. And I'm reminding you to tune in Fridays at 7 p.m. Eastern for the latest in Carolina sports, whether it's the Panthers that keep on pounding, the fly natures of the Hornets, the storming Hurricanes, the battle of the Blues with Duke and UNC, the fight of the Clemson Tigers, or the amazing atmosphere of any Carolina college. I'm talking App State, I'm talking ECU. I've got you covered. Once again, tune in for the Carolina Cast with me, John Felipe, Fridays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
All right. Welcome to AZ Sports Daily. I'm your host, Kieran Daly, bringing the heat to Arizona sports. There's no discrimination here. We're going to talk about every sports team, professional and college. The show is all about you, the listener. I'm here to entertain you. Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here? It's going to be fun, high energy. You may not agree with what I say. That's okay. Let me hear you. Let's talk about it. Join me every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, right here on AZ Sports Daily. That's AZ Sports, D-A-L-E-Y, and at IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What up, Boston sports fans? This is Mikey Two Guns here, your host of Our Bleepin' City, airing every Wednesday night from 7 to 8 p.m. right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Please join me. We'll talk everything Boston sports, all the local teams, college teams. I'm even down to talk MMA, boxing, whatever you guys want. So join me every Wednesday night, 7 to 8 p.m. Chime in with your questions on the chat, tweet the show. We'll even have call-ins. I can't wait to hear from you guys. This is going to be a lot of fun. So once again, it's Our Bleepin' City. I am your host, Mikey Two Guns, every Wednesday night from 7 to 8 p.m. right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. See you soon, people.
Back with segment number 2 of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. Definitely check out all of our amazing shows on the Spreaker app. One of our shows is the Carolina Cast, which will be coming on later on the day. but let us keep the train rolling. So I forgot we have some NBA to discuss as the Lakers. Do I really got to talk about them? Yes. So this past Monday, I should also mention their game on Saturday, just because chronological order. So the Lakers did defeat the Oklahoma City Thunder 129-120 this last Saturday, which was good. But unfortunately, they followed that up with a 126-115 loss to the Boston Celtics. Yeah, I basically said Christmas is ruined if they lose to the Celtics, and guess what? They lost to the Celtics. That's that stuff I don't like. Yesterday, however, they did defeat the Charlotte Hornets 133-112. But that's no surprise. They should have won by maybe more. I'm kidding. I'm kidding, Hornets fans. Don't chop off my head. Anyway, so the Lakers close out the calendar year, with the Minnesota Timberwolves tomorrow, and then they're at the New Orleans Pelicans. And then they start the new calendar year on Wednesday at home against the Miami Heat, and then next Friday against the Memphis Grizzlies. And I guess it's worth noting that they play the LA Clippers on Sunday, not this upcoming Sunday, but the up-and-coming Sunday, which is actually a perfect segue to go into the Los Angeles Clippers. So, remember when I was saying that the Clippers are having success? Well, obviously they lost to the Thunder last Thursday. Unfortunately, they got hammered by the Celtics, 145-108. So, way to make the Celtics look like world beaters in SoCal, Clippers and Lakers. For the Clippers, they wound up getting by the Hornets 113-104 as the Clippers close out the calendar year tonight against the Memphis Grizzlies. And then they start the new calendar year on New Year's Day against the Miami Heat on Monday. Then Wednesday they hit the road to the Cactus State to take on the Phoenix Suns. And then Friday they are at the New Orleans Pelicans. Next Friday they're at the New Orleans Pelicans before coming back home. I use the word home loosely because their Crypto.com is shared by both those teams, as the Clippers play the Lakers on the road. Anyway, but that's that for the Clippers and Lakers in the weekend review. The Clippers are still doing solid, as they're actually up to 4th in the Western Conference, but they're a distant 4th behind the Oklahoma City Thunder, which makes me wonder, how did the Lakers beat them? If the Clippers were cooled off by the Thunder, you would think the Thunder would have stomped all over the Lakers. But that wasn't the case. The NBA is so weird. I will never understand that. Anyway, but that is that for the Lakers and the Clippers. Lakers are currently 8th in the Western Conference, which isn't bad. I mean, it's good. I mean, I won't ultimately worry about it, but I still feel we should kind of worry about it. I still think celebrating the in-season tournament was basically the worst thing for them. They should have just left the bottles unopened and just said, hey, we won the in-season tournament. Let's get back to work for the main goal. Oh well. Alright, but that is that for the NBA portion of the show. Jumping over to NHL. Well, the good news is for the Ducks. I'm sorry. Oops, sorry. So, yeah, on Wednesday they beat the Las Vegas Golden Knights, which is a rarity, because they never really beat the Golden Knights. The Ducks beat them 5-2, which is pretty good. Can't say the same for last Saturday, as the Ducks managed to lose to the Seattle Kraken 3-2, and I forgot to talk about the Ducks previously. So they also lost to the Calgary Flames 3-0. Blech. And they also beat the Detroit Red Wings 4-3, and they also beat the New Jersey Devils 5-1 before losing to the New York Rangers and New York Islanders by scores of 5-1 and 4-3 respectively. So the Ducks close out the calendar year tonight against the Arizona Coyotes, and then Sunday against the Edmonton Oilers, before starting up the new calendar year against the Toronto Maple Leafs, and then next Friday against the Winnipeg Jets. To the Kings now. unfortunately for the Kings, they didn't fare so well against the Las Vegas Golden Knights. So the Kings wound up losing a heartbreaker to the Golden Knights as they wound up losing 3-2. Just kidding. It wasn't a heartbreaker, but unfortunately they fell behind 2-0. They eventually fell behind 3-1, and they unfortunately could not get that equalizer. The Kings did manage to beat the San Jose Sharks 5-1 last Wednesday, and they beat the Calgary Flames last Saturday 5-3, but they also did lose to the Seattle Kraken last Wednesday 2-1, and last Wednesday they beat the San Jose Sharks 4-1. They should be doing that. And then, I guess it's worth noting, on the 16th of... Busted! Hang on.
You should have told me that you were...
Sorry about that. But I had to let in my brother. He's here. Say hello to the people. Okay. Anyway, back to the Kings. So they close out the calendar year tomorrow against the Edmonton Oilers, and then on Tuesday they play the Toronto Maple Leafs, and then Thursday they play the Detroit Red Wings, and that's pretty much that for them. Larry says, but the beatdown of the Golden Knights was awesome. I totally agree. The beatdown of the Vegas Golden Knights was a rarity, but honestly, I was quite impressed. Where was this Ducks team during the losing streak? Good grief, dude. Alright, but that is kind of going to be it for the NHL portion of the show. Before we get on out of here, we obviously have to give out Dum Dum of the Week, and we also have to give out Dum Dum of the Year, and we have to reflect on the year of 2023 in terms of all that has happened in the world of SoCal sports. So I'm going to start off with... Let's end on a high note. Let's end on a positive note, and let's give out the Dum Dum of the Week. So, I don't know. We have multiple nominations for Dum Dum of the Week, but let's start off with this obvious one. So, Jen B, the host of our Cleveland show, the Show of the Land, she actually alluded to something when I was talking about the Chargers and the Broncos. So I talked about how the Broncos are benching Russell Wilson. I still don't know why. I mean, maybe because of his performance, but the reason why the Broncos are benching Russell Wilson is because, get this. The Broncos are planning to release Russell Wilson before his salary is vested in March, and they don't want to risk him being injured in case they can find a trade option. Yeah, the Broncos are going to release their franchise quarterback at the end of the season. The Broncos are going to release their franchise quarterback. Oh dear gosh. I just don't get it. I don't get it. The Broncos traded all that draft capital, and the Broncos traded all those players, which included Drew Lock, and now they're going to release Russell Wilson. Make it make sense, Denver. Like, I just don't get it. Maybe because his contract is so big, but dude, that's pretty bad if you ask me. So you just threw away all your draft capital to Seattle, and in addition, you're benching him, which I still don't think makes any sense. I really think Russell Wilson is the best thing to go, because you went from possibly going to the playoffs this year, and now you're basically on the verge of missing it, and now your future is going to look grim. And I don't even know if the Broncos have a first-round pick next year, let alone anything of that sort. So if you're thinking the Broncos are going to fix this overnight, you got another thing coming. So, oh my goodness. Denver Broncos, why? Why are you the way that you are? You are so much better than this. I'm a Chargers fan, but I'm just going to say you are stupid. You gave up everything just to basically release Russell Wilson. And watch Russell Wilson just make the playoffs with another team, like maybe the Vikings or the Patriots or, heaven forbid, a team that's in dire need of a quarterback. But golly, Broncos, what a mess over there. And the worst part is they hired Sean Payton. I mean, obviously he rejected the Chargers offer because he squealed about it, but still, they hired Sean Payton to try to fix this mess. But I think the Broncos are a mess that can't be fixed. And because of their whole hijinks of eventually starting to release Russell Wilson and them benching Russell Wilson and their debacle of last week's loss against the New England Patriots, I have to give to the Denver Broncos the dum-dum of the week.
You are so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
God, you got to be some sort of incompetent if you're an NFL team. That's just as bad as the Chargers, I swear. But there's another dum-dum of the week. Now, I can't really describe this team as dumb, but they're kind of impossible to figure out, and it's the Kansas City Chiefs. So everyone probably knows about this, but oh my God, the Chiefs did lose to the Raiders. Unfortunately, I can't do the Chris Berman voice just because my voice is probably on the verge of going bye-bye if I do that. But I'll give credit where credit's due. The Raiders really showed up and they socked it to the Kansas City Chiefs. But not only did the Chiefs lose to the Raiders at home, but it also was the first loss with Patrick Mahomes to a rookie quarterback. Ugh. Still think it should have been Justin Herbert. But wait, there's more. The Raiders beat the Chiefs without completing a pass following the first quarter. Yeah, that's pretty bad if you ask me, Kansas City. Look, never write off the Kansas City Chiefs, but I basically called this early in the season. The Chiefs aren't repeating. I just don't understand. And the Raiders didn't even have Josh Jacobs. I forget what his first name, but I think his name is Zamir White. He just ran all over him like he was Marshawn Lynch of the Seattle Seahawks. It just, against the New Orleans Saints. Like, it just doesn't make sense. The Chiefs had everything going for them. So, again, it's another make it make sense moment for the Kansas City Chiefs. So, Chiefs, I don't know how, I don't know why, but that's a bad loss if you ask me. And honestly, don't try to sell me your hopium in terms of possibly winning the Super Bowl. I just don't think they can do it. I mean, you've got Baltimore that's still a contender. You've got the Dolphins that are starting to get better and better. I just don't see this formula of the Chiefs winning it all. So, but the Kansas City Chiefs have won something. They've won Dum-Dum of the Week.
You are so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
Alright, that is that for the Dum-Dums of the Week. Now for the Dum-Dum of the Year. Alright, look, this one doesn't come easy. There was so many candidates I could choose from. I mean, I could probably give the award to the Broncos for their incompetence. But I'm not going to. I'm going to give the Dum-Dum of the Year to the Chargers. Yes, the Chargers get Dum-Dum of the Year. First and foremost, you blew that 27-point lead, 27-0 lead. That's a no-no by itself. Second and foremost, obviously I feel bad for the players, but still. Second and foremost, you kept Brandon Staley after said 27-0 blown lead. You really think by keeping a coach, you would think you would want to get rid of him following that. Come on, Chargers. And third, he eventually gets axed after the Chargers get whomped by the Raiders, 63-21. So it just gets bad and bad with the Chargers. And this kind of makes me wonder, are the Chargers ever going to get cured of their incompetence? Incompetence isn't an actual disease, but it sure does spread like one within the organization. So it just makes zero sense. And the fact that they whiffed on their first-round pick on Quentin Johnston, which I feel bad for the guy, but at this point of the season, you got to make the big catches. And there's a reason why you were a first-round pick. And now the Chargers are now instantly regretting that pick, where they could have had players like Jordan Addison or Zay Flowers. But that's just how it is sometimes. So the Chargers, to me, get dum-dum of the week, or dum-dum of the year, for basically keeping Brandon Staley after the 27-point lead loss, the third biggest comeback in the NFL playoffs. They also blew said lead. They also are missing the playoffs this year. They also left Justin Herbert out to die. And then finally, they whiffed on their first-round pick in Quentin Johnston. It's sad because Darius Davis is a much better pick than he is. But that's just how life is sometimes. But unfortunately for the Chargers, you are the dum-dum of the year, in my opinion, just because you should have gotten rid of Brandon Staley. And for Brandon Staley, you should have gone for the tie. And you basically, you knew what you were getting into in terms of being brought back. You were in hot water the minute you blew that 27-0 lead, and you should have basically resigned yourself. So, unfortunately for you, Brandon Staley, yeah, and I'll give it to Brandon Staley as well. Brandon Staley and Chargers get dum-dum of the year. So, Brandon Staley and Chargers are the dum-dum of the year of this show.
You are so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
Alright, but that's enough negativity. Let's focus on the positives of Southern California sports, and then we'll end off the show and send you all on your way. Alright, so let's start off with San Diego State men's basketball. They obviously made the national championship in men's basketball, which was absolutely astounding. They had that game-winning shot against FAU, Florida Atlantic, and they managed to come back from double digits to take down the Owls. I think that's their mascot, but either way, they made it all the way to the national championship. I don't think anybody gave San Diego State a chance, except for San Diego State fans. But unfortunately, they fell to the UConn Huskies. Rolls eyes. But it was still a fantastic effort from the Aztecs. I knew in my mind that the Aztecs were going to be facing an uphill battle against UConn, just because those Big East teams do not play games. But it was just a fun ride. I was just so impressed, especially when they beat Alabama, the number 1 overall seed. So San Diego State making the national championship was definitely a moment to remember. Another moment to remember was all the college volleyball teams in terms of like beach volleyball and men's volleyball. And I guess we'll throw NCAA Division II women's volleyball on there. So Cal State LA and its women's volleyball team wound up winning the NCAA Division II national championship. You also had the UCLA men's volleyball team winning the national championship. Its first one in like quite a long time, ever since the Al Skates days. Whew, it's been that long. And then USC beach volleyball three-peating, which was quite astounding if you ask me. So, man, this is why I basically said volleyball is basicly a California sport. California is basically a volleyball state. No offense to Texas, in all honesty, and with all due respect to Texas, or into any other state, but honestly, volleyball is where it's at in California. Don't anyone forget about it. And then you got the rise of the Rams, the Los Angeles Rams, and how they basically went from rags to riches. Well, I wouldn't say rags to riches. They went from Super Bowl to bust to now possible playoffs, which I think is awesome. They're the definition of building off of the draft, which I thought was amazing. And then you also have USC football, although it was a tragedy of a year. Kaleb Williams winning the Heisman was awesome last year, well, to begin the start of 2023. And then Miller Moss ending 2023 was outstanding. I guess I should also make note of the challenge on NBC being under new guidance after Fred Rogan stepped down from NBC. I was very sad, by the way. They should have at least kept Petros Papadakis. I should also make note, another notable Southern California sports moment, the Riverside City Tigers, Larry B's alma mater, wound up winning the 3C2A state championship, which I thought was awesome. So, there's that right there. And I think that pretty much does it. And UCLA, I guess, resurging in terms of its greatness, in terms of football. I wouldn't say greatness, because they wound up losing to freaking Cal and Arizona State, although they didn't play Ethan Garbers. But UCLA winning a bowl game was also fun in 2023, which, again, it wasn't glamorous. It was against Boise State, but I think they have their quarterback of the future in Ethan Garbers, so honestly, for UCLA football, it was fun. And then San Diego State, I wouldn't say they were a bright spot for Southern California. I will also say that Brady Hoke resigning at the end of the season was a big if you ask me. It was big noteworthy news because I did not see this coming. I thought he was eventually going to get fired, but him saying, I'm resigning and retiring, that was kind of mind-blowing if you ask me. So let's hope San Diego State has a much better year in the year of 2024. Excuse me a second. And we also forgot the Shohei Ohtani signing of 2023, going to the Dodgers, and the Dodgers basically telling everybody there is no such thing as a salary cap, as they have signed 3 pitchers to over $1 billion, yes, billion with a B, B as in Barry, Barry's tickets. If you get that reference, then you know what I'm talking about. But the Dodgers signing not 1, not 2, but 3 players to over $1 billion worth of contract space was also quite noteworthy. Even though the Dodgers wound up choking prior in the playoffs, they wound up choking to the Arizona Diamondbacks. Gosh, dang it! But at least they made the postseason in terms of being the only SoCal team from the MLB to make the playoffs. Unfortunately, I can't say the same for the Angels because they had a dreadful season, and the San Diego Padres had a rough start to the season, and they never really had a chance. Although they did finish 500, which was pretty good. And then I guess I should also mention the NVA with the Orange County Stunners winning its second NVA championship. I should also mention the San Diego Wild making in their inaugural season winning its first ever making its first ever NVA championship debut, only to see themselves lose in the championship match against the Orange County Stunners. But it's all good. The fact that they even got to the championship game was quite amazing. So, and also the Lakers making it to the Western Conference Finals was pretty noteworthy as well. Even though they were a 7 seed, but they were a pretty good 7 seed if you ask me. And I'll also just mention this: Dylan Brooks should never poke bears ever, ever, ever again. Ever again. Ever again. had to make another note. So, and the Lakers also winning the in-season tournament, the inaugural in-season tournament, was pretty noteworthy, though I think the celebration was not worth it. the Lakers should not have celebrated. Shouldn't have celebrated. But it's all good. That's just how it is sometimes. And then USC having a good recruiting class was USC in terms of men's basketball was a good recruiting class. It was a good recruiting class. However, their record is 6-6. But it is what it is. So I'm hoping that the USC men's basketball team can turn it around. Larry B says, let's hope the Dodgers roster is ridiculous. And he said, and I hope the Dodgers can actually win a World Series or at least get out of the frickin' divisional round. Because you know your team is underachieving when they can't even get past the divisional round. Or they're the Peyton Manning of the MLB, where they just show up in the playoffs after a strong regular season only to just get whomped in the divisional round. And he says, and he hopes that Kershaw comes back, and he says he might not come back. I'm hoping Kershaw comes back for one more ride. It would be sad if he just went out like that. And Larry B says the Angels are sad. Moreno is annoying. I totally agree. The Angels are definitely sad, and I hope the Angels can get their you-know-what together. But on that note, that is going to do it for all the notable SoCal sports events and news of 2023, reflecting on all of that. And ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for this week's episode of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Ladies and gentlemen, for the last time this year, it is time we get on out of here, because I got to get me some ramen to heal me up. Thank you everyone for tuning in to the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. I really do appreciate everybody tuning in. If you listen live, I appreciate you. If you listen on the playback, I appreciate you. If you listen at work, I appreciate you. If you listen at any time, any place, anywhere, I appreciate you. Shout out to the chat room. I definitely appreciate y'all. Larry B, Jen B, Drewski, Mike Pat, and Adam Karnick, all for tuning in. I really do appreciate everybody tuning in. Again, I had to do one more show of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show just because this was the last show of the year. Because if I had missed this show, I would have regretted it, because once I handing out Dum Dum of the Year, I can never go back to 2023. No, I am not creating a time machine, ladies and gentlemen. But I should be back for next week, and I should be 100%. I am pretty much on the mend. I'm so much better than I was on Tuesday. But I really do appreciate everyone's support. Again, I'm going to keep on doing SoCal until my heart and lungs collapse. Jen B says, great show tune. And I appreciate everyone's support, especially Adrian, a big-time Rams fan on Twitter, or also known as AC.GBD. I think that's his @ on X. He's amazing. Definitely do follow him for Rams content. But that is basically going to do it for the last episode of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show of this year. For everyone here at IE Sports Radio, this is Teran Rodriguez signing off. Have yourself an amazing weekend. Don't do anything stupid on New Year's Eve. If you do, you're going to be on Dum Dum of the Week, and you don't want that. I will see you all on Monday for Set Point. Thank you, everyone, once again for all of your support. Let's make 2024 a year to remember. Have yourself a great weekend, and Happy New Year in advance. And remember, SoCal is for SoCal. Peace!